Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Red Shadow Forge. This is another episode of the Forged in Thought, and I'm going to title this one Forged by Failures. And one thing that if you get into this knife making stuff, or if you follow a bunch of channels on YouTube about knife making or any making, to be honest, whatever craft it is, you don't see a lot of the failures that happen off camera. I've had a lot of things over the years that I've worked on that just didn't turn out right, or the heat treat was wrong, and while testing the blade it cracked or whatever. So I've gathered up a few things this morning to talk to you guys or show you guys that it's not always perfect. It doesn't always come out how you expect it to, and sometimes there's just complications that drive you insane. But learning from your mistakes and your failures can teach you a lot more than just getting it right the first time and thinking that you've figured out how to do everything. This little piece right here was an attempt at making some Damascus. This is 15-20 and 1095 in a assorted stack, basically. It was all tack welded together and then forge welded, but as you can see, the forge welds did not hold, and it looks like an antique book. The forge welds didn't hold because I didn't have the material hot enough, and that was a mistake that as I was doing it, I was like, you know what, I don't think this is hot enough. It might work, it might not, I don't know. Forge welding is very difficult, and if you're not forge welding at the right temperature, it's not going to hold. And even if one of those layers of steel does not forge weld to the other layer, you're gonna end up with a pile of junk, which is what I ended up with. But I'm still learning, that forge welding, especially done everything by hand, it's not easy, and it's a long, difficult process. This knife right here, I'm showing you guys, this one has been sitting in my rust bucket for quite a while because it was a failure in my opinion. This was one of the early handles that I did on a knife that I just wanted to get done really fast. You guys can kind of see some gaps in there, right? Nice thick spaces where it did not turn out. The grinding was really bad on this. The blade is unevenly thick, and it's just absolute garbage in my opinion. But I consider this a failure because this isn't something that would make it through the journeyman test. Just the appearance is awful. I didn't take my time. I didn't hand sand anything. I didn't grind anything evenly or symmetrically on the sides of it. It was just done very quickly, and I mean, you can even kind of see the pins in there. There's gaps, and it took away from the micarta on the handle. Just awful grinding. It probably could be fixed and restored, but it's one of those, I keep my failures around so that I can kind of look back and be like, you know what, all right, maybe this, taking my time and spending extra hours on a blade is making a difference. This one, failure number 3 right here. This one was a decent project. It's missing the tang right there. This was a Bowie knife that I was going to make for a person, and it just ended up not working out. The blade, I put a fuller on it by using the Dremel, so it was kind of really uneven. You can see that it wasn't even. I have shaky hands, so it's kind of hard for me to get precise sometimes, but that's why you just got to go over it and redo it until it works, I guess. But that one, I had heat treated it and everything. The heat treat was off. I think when I quenched it, I remember not quenching the tang of it because it didn't need to be hard. But that, once I tempered everything, I think it messed me up because I went to go hand sand it and I pressed a little too hard, and it literally snapped right on the tang. So I mean, you can see that just snapped right there, right where I had already drilled a hole through. So that one didn't work out. The other one I have here, I'm going to show you both pieces of it. This one, it was a somewhat successful failure, if that makes any sense. This is a knife that I made in New Jersey. It's missing quite a bit of it, isn't it? This is just the handle. It was a full tang knife. There's the handle. And the first couple inches of the blade. And here's the second. This one was out of 1080. This was a pretty thin piece of 1080 that I had just started to get into working with. So most of it was done, actually all of it was done with stock removal. Every time I tried to forge the 1080, the really small pieces like that, the really thin ones, it just got too hot, too flimsy. I couldn't work with it. So I figured that if I was going to forge 1080, I needed it to be thicker. But this one, we did the heat treat on it, and I don't know if you guys can see this or not. The grains were pretty big, and that's why it snapped right there. Just once we hardened it and tempered it, it wasn't proper tempered right. So as soon as we started testing on stuff, just whack. I don't remember what we even chopped on, probably a piece of wood, but it just snapped right all the way through. So these are just a few of the failed projects that I've had. I started doing this in 2017 in October, so it's been a few years. 3 out of those were in the first year, I think. But I mean, you're always going to have failures, and no matter what you do, you know, bladesmithing, blacksmithing, swordsmithing, whatever you want to call it, you know, this stuff's not a skill you can just pick up and run with it. It takes time, it takes work, it takes effort, and it takes a lot of research and homework. If you don't know how you're supposed to be quenching something, or what temperature you're supposed to be quenching your metal at, and what you're supposed to be quenching it in, you're gonna mess it up. It takes a lot of practice. It's a lot of trial and error, and I'm sure you could talk to some of the master bladesmiths out there, and they could tell you they've probably got a table bigger than this, you know, with way more things that they've failed on. And the more you get into it, the more you will fail. But something to keep in mind is that no matter how many times you fail at something, as long as you keep going, eventually you'll get it right. And failure to me isn't a reason to stop. It's a reason to assess your situation. Yes, I get upset and I get kind of hurt, and I'm like, man, this sucks. You know, I put all this effort into this and it's ruined. But I can take a step back and think about what I did or what I didn't do to make that happen, and why am I at this pedestal of failure right now instead of success where I want to be. So I can look at the situation and figure out what I did wrong and what to do next. And if I have to start over, so be it. At least I know how to make it past that failure spot so that I won't do it again the next time. And one thing that I am pretty proud of is I haven't failed twice at the same thing, if that makes sense. If I've failed at something, it's usually something that I didn't fail at before. So you just, I don't know, keep moving past all that stuff. I don't let failure get to me and push me away from this stuff. I love making knives. I love doing this stuff. So no matter how many times I fail, I'm gonna keep going. And for every successful blade, I think it's worth all the failures, in my opinion. So just keep that in mind with anything you're doing, especially when you're making stuff. So if you want to get to that success, get to that, you know, championship spot, you gotta deal with some failures. But hopefully you guys like this video. I'll go through another one probably a year from now and do another failure video, because I'm sure there will be more. I've got a few other videos now, and these are coming, trying to do every Sunday. So I hope you guys like these little talking videos, and thank you guys for tuning in. I hope less failures for you than I've had, but you know, it's all part of it. Hope you learned something. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and if you guys want to leave a comment, that'd be great. So thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.